Wondering why there's been all this chat about wealth tax? Well, here's what you need to know. A wealth tax would look to tax what was defined as New Zealand's highest earners and be imposed on an individual's net wealth. Essentially, it sets out to ensure tax fairness.
You have to disclose what you're worth, and the tax would be set by a government at a certain level, and then they work out something more like a 1% type scenario, and you have to pay tax on your entire net worth, however that's defined by the government.
That definition is what's concerning Kiwis, because when it comes to what's considered New Zealand's wealthiest...
Are you a rich individual because you're sitting in a house that maybe is worth millions of dollars, and that it's whether that makes you a really wealthy person and that you're defined as such. And it's different to actually having money coming in. So if you don't have cash flow, it's very difficult to pay these taxes.
Back in 2020, Jacinda Ardern ruled out introducing a wealth tax and hasn't changed her stance since. But the formulation of a bill requiring officials to report on how well the tax system was operating has got people talking. Revenue Minister David Parker announced the government's gathering information on tax intake, saying the research won't be put into a new policy now, but that it will be finalised by the next election and could feed into future tax policies. But the launch of the Tax Principles Act saw speculation sparked again that such a policy is imminent, and it saw Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern questioned multiple times on it during her post-cabinet press conference this week.
We are not doing any work on any additional tax policy. We have no other plans. Our policy has not changed. I made a number of statements in this space and I stand by all of them, and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. We have no current tax policy being developed at this point in time, right now.
But she's not convinced everyone, and it comes down to her wording. She said previously she wouldn't introduce a wealth tax while she was Prime Minister.
You could have a scenario where Grant Robertson comes in, takes over in a third term, and says, well, I'm different leader now and different rules.
Speaking to media this week, she was again careful with her response.
We haven't formulated our tax policy for the 2023 election.
National have since released a statement highlighting Ardern's refusal to rule out the tax. Their finance spokesperson Nicola Willis said despite telling New Zealanders during the 2020 election that she would not implement a wealth tax as long as she was Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern is now signalling a U-turn on that promise. While it's yet to be seen what path Labour choose to take, it's one they'll have to think through carefully.
For a centrist party like Labour that's trying to capture that big chunk of voters, it's very difficult because there's only really a small sweet spot somewhere that this tax could be workable. You have to look very carefully at exactly where you pitch it, and that's a very complex and nuanced thing. And in the political debate scenario that we're having right now, that's a tough scenario for the government.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. To stay up to date with all the latest news from the New Zealand Herald, click the subscribe button below or check out one of the videos here, and head over to nzherald.co.nz for more details on these stories and more.